Okay, good evening everyone, and welcome back to the weekly Parsha. We're holding over here by a very auspicious evening. It's not only Parshas Pinchas, but it's also the very beginning of the 3 weeks, Shivasa Tamuz, the 7th day in the month of Tamuz, which notoriously begins the period that we are called the 3 weeks, which begins tonight and it ends on the night of Tisha B'Av in 3 weeks' time. And the Mishnah in Tainus tells us that there are 5 terrible things that happened on this day, on the 17th of Tamuz, which is why it became a national fast day, because of the national tragedy that took place. And the Mishnah itself says over the following idea. What are the things that happened over here on Shivasa B'Tamuz, which is why we have to go and we have to make a Tainus of fast today and tomorrow? And the Gemara says the following idea. Number 1 was Nishtabra Aluchais. Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Mount Sinai and he saw the Jewish people dancing around the golden calf, and he was so offended and appalled that you could be standing at the foot of Har Sinai, just receiving the Torah, hearing the voice of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Anoich Hashem Elokecha, I am Hashem your God, and there should be no other gods in front of you, means you should not serve Avodah Zarah, idol worship. And here they are dancing around the golden calf as if it's their God. He said, if the Jewish people can't even keep one of the mitzvahs, how are they going to keep all 613? And so he smashed the luchais, which was a devastating day in our history. The second thing that the Mishnah says is, Ubatal hatamid. There was a korban that took place, a sacrifice in the Beis HaMikdash every single day, in the Mishkan, and then in the Beis HaMikdash, called the korban tamid. There was one in the morning, and one ben arba, and one in the late afternoon. And it was an animal that you would bring, and the whole thing was burned up to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And it took place twice a day. And comes along the Romans, and they walk into the Beis HaMikdash, and they say, you know what you have to stop doing in this place? No more korban tamid, no more daily offering. We don't want it anymore. And that was another tragedy that took place on the day. Why the korban tamid? There's other korbanos, there's other sacrifices that are being brought in the Beis HaMikdash. There's a korban chatas, you have a korban pesach, you have so many other things that are taking place. And why is it that it was such a devastating thing that it's on par with nishtabra luchas, breaking of the luchas of the 10 Commandments? And the Mishnah goes on and says other things. They breached the walls of Yerushalayim, which led to the ultimate downfall. They put up a cellar, they put up a statue, an idol inside the Beis HaMikdash. Those are terrible things. So the Jewish people were not able to bring the daily offering anymore. That's as bad as breaking the 10 Commandments. That's as bad as breaching the walls of Yerushalayim, which is going to eventually lead to the ultimate destruction. That's as bad as putting up a statue, an idol, inside the holy walls of the Beis HaMikdash. And the last one, they burnt the Sefer Torah. It's as bad as that. Why is the korban tamid? Why is this sacrifice, which seems to be so crucial to the Jewish people, that if it's batal, that if it becomes nullified, it's so bad? It's one of the reasons that we're going to wake up tomorrow and we're going to fast for the 5 terrible tragedies that took place on Shivasa B'Tamuz, on the 70th day of Tamuz. What is so central to our faith, to our religion, to our life, that if the korban tamid is batal, if it is nullified, it's a terrible, terrible tragedy for Klal Yisrael? Well, Baruch Hashem, this week's Parsha speaks about the korban tamid. So it's not by coincidence that tonight is Shivasa B'Tamuz and we're commemorating the loss of the korban tamid, because in Parshas Pinchas is where we're introduced to this mitzvah. And the Torah says over the following idea. There is the tamid, the offering that is brought in the morning, And when a person brings that offering, the Torah says, Reach nichayach ish el Hashem. It is a pleasing fragrance, that fire offering, La Hashem to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then the Torah goes on and explains, not only do you bring it in the morning, but you're also going to bring it in Bein HaArboim in the late afternoon, Kiminchas HaBoker, just like the way that you brought it in the morning. And says the Torah, Reach Nichayach La Hashem. The one that you bring in the late afternoon, the second one, is also a pleasing fragrance to Hashem. Now, what does it mean that this korban, this sacrifice which is being brought in the morning and in the evening, is a pleasing fragrance to the Ribono Shel Olam? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's like 4th of July, he likes the barbecue. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is looking forward to the pool party and the steaks that are going to be put on the barbecue over there and all the smoke that's going to go up and it smells geschmack. What does that mean? How is it that a korban, which is the burning of the limbs and the burning of the fats and the burning of the flesh, how is that a reach nichayach, is a pleasant fragrance to Hashem? Says Rashi, Nachas Ruach lefanai. Reach nichayach, the pleasant fragrance, means it is a nachas, it is a pleasure to see that you are bringing the korban tamid, you are bringing this daily offering. Why? Sha'amarti, I told you what to do. V'naser ritzaini, and you've fulfilled and completed my will, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I know that when I tell people what to do, says the Ribono Shel Olam, not everybody listens. I know that when I tell people to keep Shabbos, not everybody's going to keep Shabbos. I tell everybody to keep kosher, not everyone's going to keep kosher. I tell everybody, work on your midos, make sure that you're not a kaisin, you're not an angry person. Make sure you're not a stingy person. Make sure you're not a cruel person. You have to be replete in the beautiful midos. Says the Rebbe, I know that not everyone's going to listen to what I have to say. And now that I see that you did the sacrifice not only in the morning, maybe you thought you exempted yourself, you did one already. You do it the second time in the afternoon as well. Amarti, I said what to do. V'naser etzani, you did my will, says the Ribono Shel Olam. You don't know what kind of a nachas ruach, what a pleasure, what a joy, what simcha, what happiness it brings to me, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that there are Yidden that are down there in this world that are doing what I asked them to do. But Rashi only explains this after the second one of the korban tamid, of the daily sacrifices brought. He doesn't explain that by the first time that we say Reach Nichayach LaHashem. It's only after the second one that the Kodesh will say, oh, wow, I told you what to do. I said what a Jew should be involved with in this world, and you listened to me. That is what's called Nachas Ruach. That is a pleasure. You know, it's like a parent is trying to wake their children up in the morning. Now, Baruch Hashem, school is over. Now they're tortured with camp for the rest of the summer. Now, no kid wants to wake. They don't want to wake up for school. They certainly do not want to wake up for camp. It's like the Spanish boots on the kid. It's added torture. It wasn't bad enough that we woke you up at 7:30 every single day during the year, so we could get you off to school on time, so you could go sit in prison. You go sit in school and learn and become a mensch, become a better person. But now, my parents don't want me in the house during the summertime either, so they're throwing me out at 9 o'clock in the morning. So they come along and they say, no, you have to get up, you have to get up. No, I'm tired, you have to get up, you have to get up. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I already went to school. It's not school, it's camp. Yeah, but my camp's at school, so it's camp school, I don't want to go there. And finally when that kid jumps out of the bed, groggy as he is, upset as he is, grumpy as he is, but he gets up and he washes his hands and he brushes his teeth maybe once every few weeks, and then he comes downstairs and he grabs his backpack and begrudgingly he goes to the car and he's sitting in the car with that beautiful face on where he looks so excited that he's going to camp that day. Ooh, Amarti, says the father and the mother, I said what to do. V'naseh ritzeni, you did my will. Nachas ruach lefanai, that's a pleasure to me, says the father. Says the mother, my dear child, you listened to what mommy said. You actually got out of bed. You didn't throw a tantrum. You got dressed so nicely. You came down to the car. Your hot cocoa is waiting, and your donut is waiting, and your chips are waiting, and all the good, nutritious breakfast that every boy has on the way to his camp in the morning. It's all waiting for you. Nachas ruach lefanai, it's a pleasure to me. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when I look down in this world, and I see the Yidden fulfilling my will. And they're doing it not only once in the morning, but again in the afternoon. And they might have thought to themselves, it's like a person, you call them up, we need a minyan for mincha. Mincha, I daven shachris already. Yeah, but you have a mitzvah to daven mincha as well. Okay, every day, I shachris. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you brought it in the morning. And now you bring it again in the afternoon. Nachas ruach, what a pleasure that is to me. Says the Seforno on this pasuk, Afal pishik varasisa boy bayoim oilas haboiker. Even though that you already brought the korban in the morning, kamoizois hashenis legamri, and it's the second one is exactly the same as the first. Mikol mokoim, nevertheless. Even though that the second one that you're bringing is exactly the way that you brought it in the morning, you're not changing anything. You're doing the sacrifice exactly the same way you shechted, the same way you offered on the mizbeach, the same way that you burn everything up for Hashem. It's exactly the same. You might think, okay, so no, repeat performance. It's the what do they call it in the TV over there when it's the repeats? Okay, nobody knows TV, Baruch Hashem, nobody knows. What? Reruns. Somebody has just incriminated themselves. They know what it means, reruns. Yeah? So it looks like a rerun. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not a rerun. If you do it a second time, the same way, you're doing it again, that's a pleasure to me. You know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves more than anything in the world? HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves when a Jew is consistent. When every day a Jew wakes up and with consistency, whether he's in the mood or he's not in the mood, whether it's cold outside or it's hot outside, his body aches, it doesn't ache. He was up late last night, he went to bed on time last night. It doesn't matter if he's consistent. He wakes up and he does his avodah, he does what he's supposed to do because Amarti, says Hashem, I told you what to do and you've done it. Nachas ruach lefanai. That is my greatest pleasure, my greatest joy, the greatest simcha that I could have. When a Jew is constant, when a Jew is doing every single day, when a Jew is on top of his game, even when he's not so much in the mood. Imagine a doctor was a brain surgeon, and there is a patient that's been waiting for the brain surgery for the last month. And if the brain surgery succeeds, he's going to become a healthy human being. If it fails, who knows what he'll become, maybe a vegetable. And if it doesn't get done at all, for sure, he's going to die. And on the morning of the brain surgery, the doctor wakes up and he's just not in the mood. Just not in the mood. And they call him Dr. Schwartz. Your patient is already here in the triage. He's waiting for you to come in right now to come and do the surgery. Tell the patient, I'm just not in the mood today. But doctor, you are the most capable brain surgeon in the entire land. Nobody knows this particular surgery the way that you do. He's been waiting and waiting. If you don't do the surgery, he's surely going to die. So tell him, wish him luck. I hope he'll be okay. Maybe I'll be in the mood tomorrow. No brain surgeon in their wildest dreams or imagination would ever say such a thing. Whether you're in the mood or you're not in the mood, if someone is depending on me, on these hands to go and operate on that brain to save that person's life, I will be there, that is for sure. I told you once the story that the janitor here, Abel, Cain and Hevel, Abel, he's a person, he's consistent as could be. He does not miss a day. If he ever misses anything, he calls and he apologizes to me. I don't understand Espanol so well, but I understand the groveling and the apologizing that he does, the apologizing he does when he doesn't come. And then, just in case I didn't understand what he said, he asked one of his daughters who speaks English to send me a message. My father feels so bad, he wasn't. It's okay. He's missed maybe 2 days in the last 2 or 3 years. So one day I noticed he's like very, very tired, very tired. The man is never tired. He comes to work in the morning with a big smile on his face. He's full of energy. There's nothing I can ask him to do that he's not going to do. He'd paint the whole place and he'd wash the whole place down and he'll fix everything that's broken in one day if he could. And one day I see he's very tired. His face is like down like this and it's unusual, very uncharacteristic. I said, Abel, is everything okay? Are you okay? He says, sí, señor. And then he begins to explain to me in Spanish and broken English that he wasn't feeling well this morning. So he took 2 Tylenol to help get over a headache. Until he realized he took Tylenol PM in the AM in the morning. He took the wrong Tylenol. And he's exhausted. He's falling on his face. But he has a job. And his job is to be here at Makor Chaim and keep the place clean, take out all the trash, fix the things that are broken, make sure the place is running smooth. So does it matter that I took Tylenol PM in the AM? No, says Abel, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'm tired, but I'm going to do my job. Says the Rebbe, that's what I want from the Yidden. I don't care if you're tired, I don't care if you're grumpy, I don't care if you're hungry. Tomorrow's a fast. My kids, when the kids were younger, the fast day was the most dreaded day of all of going to school. Why? Because the kids are not fasting, but all the Rebbeim in school are fasting. And so they're exhausted, and they're hungry, and their head is pounding because they didn't have their coffee yet this morning, and the kids aren't listening, and their midos are on edge over there. And so the way in which they always felt that they were treated was not exactly the way that they wanted to be. So they dreaded those days. It's in my office. My door is open. You can take it if you want. It's on the desk. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, whether you're fasting, whether you had a good meal, whether you slept 8 hours or 2 hours, it doesn't matter to me, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's something called Avodas Hashem. And Avodas Hashem means you must be there every day and show up and do the job. For those of you that are following along in the Sefer Nidchei Yisrael Horowitz, which we are learning daily in our WhatsApp group, perhaps you'll recall something that we learned not so long ago. It's a beautiful, beautiful insight that the Horowitz has over here about how important it is to be engaged in mitzvahs on a regular basis, because if you're not, it could end up destroying you. And he says over here the following idea. No matter how difficult it is, no matter how far-flung you are in the world, maybe you're not around a shul, maybe you're not around the yeshiva, maybe you're not around the koilel, maybe you're not around a minyan, wherever you might be, don't ever stop doing the mitzvahs. This is one of the beautiful ideas about Torah is, you don't need to be in Eretz Yisrael. It's wonderful to be in Eretz Yisrael. I was there just came back. I'm telling you, it's a different world over there. It's a different davening. The Kaisel is a different place, and Mars HaMachpelah and Kever Rochel and the Yidden and the Ruach will speak about it. It's a different world. But the Torah is not resigned only to Eretz Yisrael. The Torah exists, believe it or not, in Tarzana, California as well, and it exists in Brooklyn, New York, and it exists somewhere in South Africa and Australia. It exists everywhere. Says the Horowitz, no matter where you are, no matter who you are, no matter what your connection to Torah mitzvahs is all about, don't you dare ever give up a day of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because if you do, behemshech hazman, as time goes on, you be'einav kehefker, the Torah and the mitzvahs will become in your eyes like hefker, which means as if it is meaningless. You'll have no connection to it at all. And the Horowitz goes on to explain the following idea. And he says there is a biological condition that if a person would fast too many days in a row, they would deny themselves of food one day and another day and a third day. So you know what happens to that person? They lose their desire to eat. You go try it at home if you want. Cut yourself off from eating a good meal for the next 3 days. You can start tomorrow, it's a tightness anyway. Keep it up for 2 days after that, and you'll see, as time goes on, you lose the desire to eat. You're not hungry anymore, your stomach stops growling so much, and they put food in front of you. No, I'm not interested. Says the Horowitz, the nefesh, the soul of a person, is the same thing as the body in this respect. And that is, when a person does not engage himself in Torah, and he distances himself from the keeping of the Torah over an extended period of time, even if it was against his will, I had no choice. I was locked up in prison. I was stuck in the middle of a desert island someplace with nowhere to go. I didn't have a sitter, didn't have my tefillin, didn't have anything. What do you want from me? I'll call upon him. Nevertheless, hanefesh ibda es koyach chukasei ativis, the nefesh, the neshama, will lose the power, the inner natural power that it has for the chukah, the desire for mitzvahs. Sheyesh la advarim aruchnim, the nefesh, the neshama, by its very essence, its very reality, has a strong burning desire for ruchnias, for spirituality. That's what a neshama wants. It wants Torah. It wants mitzvahs. It wants to be close to Hashem. It wants to daven, it wants to learn, it wants to give tzedakah. That's the natural state of the neshama. However, if you go several days without doing mitzvahs, several days without putting on your tefillin or coming to a minyan and davening shachris, or going to a shir and learning Torah, what will happen? You're going to lose the natural desire that the neshama has. It will become very difficult for the soul. Afterwards, it will be almost impossible for that person to keep the Torah and the mitzvahs in the way that the rest of the Jewish people are doing. Says the Horowitz, if you are inconsistent in your avodas Hashem, if you're a pick and choose type of a Jew, I never understood how people know which ones to pick and which ones not to pick. How does a person know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu says is okay and what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not okay? Kashrus, tefillin, yes. Shabbos, pretty good. I can't agree with all the malachas there that I'm not allowed to do, but you know what? But that one over there, for sure, no, I'm not going to do that. How do you know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants? Says the Horowitz, when you start picking and choosing, and you cut yourself off from the mitzvahs, and you're not keeping Torah the way you're supposed to, so your nefesh, your neshama, that soul that burns with desire to be close to Hashem, it begins to go farther and farther and farther away, and then a person, he gets cut off. And then one morning he wakes up and says, I'd like to go to Shacharis this morning. Oh well, I already missed it 3 days. What's day number 4? And on day number 4 he says, well, I missed it 4 days. What's day number 5? When a person is not the consistent Jew, says the Chavetz Chaim, they're running the risk into big trouble. I saw a Maisa recently. There was a doctor, professor in Baltimore. Let's call him Dr. Hendler. And the last, I believe, perhaps 5 or 6 years of his wife's life, she had very, very bad Alzheimer's, dementia, and he was busy between being a professor. He ended up having to leave his job and take care of his wife, hand and foot, basically, for the last 5 years of her life. When she passed away, he decided that after all is said and done, he was so busy taking care of his wife, the thing that suffered the most besides himself was his learning of Torah. There was no time for him to learn at all during that period of time. He was busy taking care of his wife, making sure that she was okay. And he said, now I must dedicate myself and my time to learning Torah more. And lo and behold, right around the time that the Shiva was over, and he was getting himself back to a schedule of learning, the new cycle of Daf Yomi began. And he said, you know what? What a great opportunity. Every single day you have to learn a Daf Gemara. Talk about consistent. Anyone that's in Daf Yomi knows it's one of the greatest, milas, one of the greatest things in the Daf Yomi is the consistency. Every day you got to learn. If you miss one day, everybody knows you miss one day, you'll miss 2 days, you miss 2 days, you miss 3 days. Next thing you know, you're dropping out of the shir, and you'll just be looking at everybody standing by the siyum in another year and say, wow, I remember when I was learning Daf Yomi. It's consistency, and it's got to be every day. And he started learning. And he's going 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, getting more into it. He's learning it more in depth and everything. He's holding in the 6th year of the Daf Yomi cycle. And he's getting excruciating pains in his knees. And so he goes to the doctor, and the doctor gives him an examination, and the doctor tells him, you need a double knee replacement. Okay, he says. We'll take care of it. I'll call you when I'm ready for the surgery. The knees are getting worse and worse and worse, to the point where he's basically hobbling around like on a cane or a walker. Daf Yomi now is about maybe 2 months, I believe, away from finishing the cycle, the 7.5-year cycle. He's at this point, he's learning every single day, hobbling around on his 2 bad knees. Nobody understands, why is this man not getting a knee replacement? One day a friend of his comes to visit him, and he gets up to answer the door, and he's hobbling to the door, and he opens the door, and he goes hobbling back to the couch, and his friend says, doctor, you're a doctor yourself, you understand the importance of health, of taking care of oneself. Why are you not getting a knee replacement? So he said, it's very simple. He said, the Daf Yomi cycle is over in 2 months' time. If I get a knee replacement right now, it's a day of surgery, and I've heard from other people, it's a long recovery. I don't know how much my learning of the daily daf is going to suffer. I'm not willing to take the chance that getting my knees fixed is going to throw me off the schedule of Daf Yomi. So I made up with the doctor on the day after the Siyum Hashas of Daf Yomi, 7.5 years. My surgery is scheduled for my first of my knee replacements, and then I'll get the next one afterwards. Because you got to be consistent. You have to be every single day. When you have a mitzvah, you do the mitzvah. You don't push it off until tomorrow. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. Says the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has pleasure from Klal Yisrael. Why? Because they do the Korban Tabin not only once, they do it in the afternoon, and they keep doing the Ratzon and the will of Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, that's what it means to be a Jew. The Pele Yoetz writes very similar to the words of the Chavetz Chaim. And he says like this, He's talking about an idea of cheshik v'chiba, strong, burning desire and a love for mitzvahs. And he says, "Hasmada likroi sifrei musav ragilos lasek b'torah ma'asim tovim." When a person has hasmada, consistency, diligence in learning books of Musar, in learning Torah, in doing mitzvahs and good deeds, who ikar gadol, that determination and that consistency and that keeping things going all the time, that is an ikar gadol, that is a great principle, a main thing. Shim Adam nagafilu minag toiv, because if a person is doing something that is good, a mitzvah, a custom, something that's good in the eyes of Hashem, v'yoyim echad a nigra, and one day he misses. Doime be'einav ki'ilu ba'oisa yoyim lahai Yehudi. He should look at it in his eyes, if on that day I'm not even a Jew. Because like we're saying, a Jew is every day. A Jew is consistent. A Jew doesn't miss a beat. Even if he's not in the mood, he's tired, he's grumpy, he's not, this is, our generation doesn't understand this. Kids, people calling sick all of the time. People miss things all of the time. We just went to Eretz Yisrael, and we wanted most of our children to come. We had a chasana, a wedding of our niece, and we wanted most of the kids that were able to be there for the wedding. My son, Maishi, was learning in yeshiva in Lakewood. He came to his Rosh Yeshiva, and he said that his family is going to Eretz Yisrael for a chasana, for a wedding. He'd like to know, could he leave the yeshiva? It's the zman, the middle of the zman, so to speak. Yeshiva is still in session. Could he leave, and could he go to Israel for a certain amount of time? And the yeshiva said, first of all, you're going for a cousin? You're leaving yeshiva for a cousin's wedding? See, yeah, we're very, very close. The families are very close. It's like almost like a sister. It's okay. So he says, how long is your family going to be there? He said, 10 days. He says, Moshe, you plan to go for 10 days? No. How long can I go? So he said, then he told him, he said, my father said that the wedding's on Sunday, so we have to be there for Shabbos. On Monday, my father arranged to take a trip to Bnei Brak to go see Gedolei Yisrael, some of the greatest rabbis of our generation, to receive their blessings. So he asked his Rosh Yeshiva, could I stay through Monday to be there for the blessings and come back then on Tuesday? And the Rosh Yeshiva told him, Moshe, he said, the greatest bracha that you could have is the bracha of Rava and Abaye in the Gemara. That's the greatest blessing. So if you're asking me what to do, I'll tell you like this. He says, it's still the Zman, the time of Shiva is going on. You should leave the last possible time that you could leave America to be able to get there in time for Shabbos. And you should leave on the earliest flight after the wedding you can get on to get back in the yeshiva so you don't miss so many days. And my son, to his great credit, he said, okay, Rosh Yeshiva, whatever you say. So he left Thursday from New Jersey, arrived Friday morning in Eretz Yisrael. We spent Friday, Shabbos, and Sunday together. Sunday was the chasana at night. And we stayed up, he and I stayed up on Sunday night after the wedding. And he got in the taxi at 4 o'clock in the morning and went to the airport. And on the way, they dropped me off at the Kaisel so I could go and daven nates. And he got back in time for Mincha and second Seder, the afternoon learning on, I think it was, that's on Monday, America time. Why? Because a Jew is constant. A Jew has to be consistent. A Jew has to know that if he misses one day, Eino Yehudi, I'm not a Jew today. How could I miss? How could a Jew miss a day? And then he writes like this: V'im yarpe atzmo yoim liyoim. If you will weaken yourself day after day, the whole desire to serve Hashem is going to get weakened. And it's going to be very, very hard to guard and to keep the mitzvahs of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And therefore, says the Pele Yoetz, don't stop. Don't give in. Don't sleep in too late. Don't miss a mitzvah. Don't miss an opportunity. Don't miss, because if you do, it's not going to be easy to grab that mitzvah afterwards. Come along the Romans into the Beis HaMikdash and say, Korban Tamid. Let's get rid of that mitzvah. Well, what's so great about the Korban Tamid? Because that's what it means to be a Yehudi. That's what it means to be a Jew. A Jew is someone who wakes up in the morning, he does his avodas Hashem. He goes through the whole day. Maybe he's in the office, maybe he's at work, maybe he's doing brain surgery. I don't know what he's doing. And then it comes time to do the avodah in the afternoon, the late afternoon. He does it exactly the way that he did it in the morning. Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Amarti, I asked you, I told you what to do. V'naseh ritzayni, you did my will. Nachas ruach lafanai. This is the greatest pleasure that I could possibly have. One of the tikkunim that we can make during this time of the year, as we are already in the day of Shivasa B'Tamuz, the 17th day of Tamuz, and we'll wake up in the morning and we will be fasting over the tragedies that took place on this day. One way to be masakin, to correct the mistakes or the things that were done before, was in that exact thing that we ended up stumbling in, or that was taken away. That's what we have to fix up and become strong in. Which means every single one of us, in our own ways, in our own avodas Hashem, in our own learning, in our own davening, in our own mitzvahs, in our own midos, whatever it might be, have to find a way during these 3 weeks to be tamid, to be consistent, to be every day. Take one mitzvah on yourself that's hard for you to do every single day and say, you know what? The next 3 weeks of my life, I'm going to commit myself to do it every day, because the Chofetz Chaim said, if I don't do that, then it's going to detonate these feelings that I have inside of my neshama to keep doing it on a regular basis. Or like the Pele Yoetz is saying, Eino Yehudi, I'm simply not a Jew on a day that I disconnect. Instead of connecting myself tamid, constantly to the mitzvahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given to us. So if we could take these 3 weeks and not feel bad that we can't go maybe partying around and we can't listen to loud music and we're not going to cut our hair, and as it gets closer we're not going to go into the pool anymore, we're not going to go to the beach, we're not going to have meat, we're not going to have barbecues, nothing like that. That's not what it's all about. We don't do all of these things so that we can focus in with that which is more important, and that is, I want to be a Korban Tamid type of a Jew. And that is a Jew that understands consistency is everything. I was zeicha to be in Eretz Yisrael the last 10 days, and I was fortunate to be able to see a lot of Gedolei Yisrael, great Rabbanim of our generation. And perhaps one of the biggest reasons why they have become the leaders of the generation and why they are recognized as the great Rabbanim of the people is because of this midah of consistency that they have, that catapulted them to the place where they are today. The first one that I was able to see was I believe today he's considered to be the Gadol Hador of Dov Landau. He's already well into his 90s. He had just come back from a whirlwind trip to America, where he was trying to raise $100, if not more, $1 million for the yeshivas and the kollels in Eretz Yisrael. He was schlepped around from place to place to place to place to place. He arrived back in Israel, I believe, on Erev Shabbos, on like Thursday or Friday. I went to Bnei Brak on Monday to see him, and he was like, as if nothing happened. Not traveling, he wasn't tired, he wasn't exhausted, he doesn't know me from anyone. And he took me into his private chambers, and he gave me a nice 5+ minutes of his time. And he was even joking around with me a little bit, and he was shaking my children's hands, and he was giving us all brachos. Because it's tamid, it's every day. Whether I'm in the comfort and the privacy of my own home and the yeshiva that he teaches at, which is just right across the street, or I'm on an airplane, or I'm in the airport, or I'm schlepped around from this event to that event and meeting this person, that person, it's all the same. I'm a Yehudi, I'm a Jew. And I just keep going and going and going. I saw a Yid by the name of Moshe Sternbach. He is 100 years old, 100 years old. I want you to think to yourself about a 100-year-old person that you know, but you never saw anybody like this before. He's 100 years old. He learns Torah every day. He gives shiurim, he gives classes every single day. He accepts the public every day into his house to give them brachas and talk to them. He's answering some of the most complex halachic shaylas questions of our generation. He's still writing svarim until this very day because he's tamid, he's consistent. Every single day. There's a famous story with his mother. Moshe Sternbach grew up in England. He eventually became a Rav in South Africa, but he grew up in England. And he was a genius. And I believe it was either Cambridge or Oxford decided that they want him to enter their school on a full scholarship of mathematics because he was such a genius off the charts. They wanted him to be a student in their university. His mother received the letter in the mail with accolades about her young son. He was even below the age of a regular college student, accepting him into whatever it was, Cambridge, Oxford, I don't remember which one. And she took the letter, and the fireplace was on. And she took the letter, and she walked over to the fireplace, and she watched it crackle into smithereens. And then sometime later, she called her son in. She said, Moshe, I just want to let you know what happened. And they offered you a full scholarship, but you, my dear son, are destined for greatness in Torah. So I burnt up the letter. You're not going. You just keep doing what you're doing in yeshiva. At that point, he was already staying up till like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, learning through the night, becoming the great person that he was. And somebody asked his mother once, okay, I understand you don't want him to go to university, but such a letter like that, such a prestigious letter, you didn't even let your son see it, and then on top of all, you had to burn it up in the fireplace. Why'd you do that? Just save it as a memento. What you didn't let your son do. She said, because as long as that letter is going to be in my house, that koyach hatuma, that power of impurity is going to be in my house, it's going to get in the way of my son's learning and steiging and avodas Hashem. So I had to get rid of it completely. Which means that if something's going to get in the way of you being consistent, like the Peluyayetz, like the Chavetz Chaim is saying, you must abandon it so you can keep going straight forward. And the last one that I'll just tell you about was the Belzer Rebbe, which is very hard to get into. It's a whole Ma'aseh Hashgacha. I was able to be there. The Belzer Rebbe had a stroke several years ago. And from that stroke, already he could barely talk. He cannot move. He has to be pushed around in a wheelchair. Just about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, he was in a very perilous health situation. They didn't know if he was going to make it from day to day. The whole world was davening for the Belzer Rebbe, and Baruch Hashem, he pulled through. So here's a man who, before he got sick, he built up one of the most prestigious chasidus in the entire world. When you go to Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh, there's one building, no matter wherever you stand in Jerusalem, you can see this gigantic building. That's the Beis Midrash of Belz. They built it like a mini Beis HaMikdash in the middle of Yerushalayim. It's humongous. The amount that this man has done, he's accomplished, is enormous. And then he got sick, and he had a stroke. And he can barely talk, can barely move. So you say, okay, you know what? Belzer Rebbe, you did a good job while everything was good. You accomplished a lot while you were healthy, when you could talk, when you could daven, when you could lead the tish, when you could do everything. You know what? You had a stroke, take it easy. No, he doesn't take it easy. He's still being the Belzer Rebbe. And he's sitting in his throne, his seat. And he's accepting a Yid from America and his family that he doesn't know, and he's letting him come in and having a real conversation with them, and he's listening to every single word that I say, and to what everybody else is saying about me and about the shul and everything, and he's giving brachas and brachas and brachas and hope and everything. Because if a Jew turns away from one day, it's going to be very hard to get back in. But if a Jew stays in consistently, like the Korban Tamid in the morning and Bein Arboim in the afternoon, every single day, so then the cheshek, the desire that's naturally there inside the neshama, the chiba, the love that one has of mitzvahs, which is so natural, so much a part of who we are, it goes more and more and more every single day. So as we are embarking on the 3 weeks, and Shivas Tamuz is the day in which Batal HaTamid, that the Korban Tamid was nullified in the Beis HaMikdash, we now understand why it is, because you can't be a Jew unless you are consistent. And therefore we're going to spend the next 3 weeks, Be'ez Hashem, doing our best to find some area in our Avodas Hashem, in our mitzvahs, in our midos, in our Torah, in our tefillah, whatever it might be. I want to be tamid, consistent in this area every single day without fail, to the best of my abilities. And in that zechusim Yetz Hashem, not only will the tamid no longer be batal, no longer be nullified, but Be'ez Hashem Yizbarach HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who has been consistent for all of these years, watching over us and taking care of us and allowing us to survive the thousands of years of the Gullus, He will bring us to that ultimate world of tamid, of consistency, the world where we'll be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu the way that every neshama wants to. And that's going to be with the building of the Bayis Shlishi, the third Beis HaMikdash, where we'll be able to bring the Korban Tamid once again in the morning and the afternoon, show HaKadosh Baruch Hu what it means to be a Jew, and that will be the Nachas, Ruach, Lefanai, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shamarti, I told you what to do. V'naseh Ritzaini, and you did my ratzon, you did my will. May we be zeicher to be in the Beis HaMikdash, b'mheira b'yameinu, to do the ratzon, the will of Hashem.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi Horowitz.